So the role of industry.
Well, we're talking about maybe potentially the issues, and I think you started by saying, speak as if we're speaking to the network directors. And so I'd say, at least, again, I'm looking at this from the perspective of the planners and the engineers and the people who come in out of university collegiate programs. From my perspective, there are two things that I think we need that we're not currently doing, or at least the students aren't doing yet. Number one, students that are coming out of these programs are going through, curricula that are a little bit narrower than the world that's in front of them 10 years from now. There's such a transformation coming in these next 10 years in transportation with the automated connected vehicles. It's been kind of a focus of this meeting. That I foresee that our transportation professionals are going to be involved in activities that are quite different 10 years from now than they are today. They need to take advantage of the university's access to these different disciplines that they're going to have to interact with in the future, but that we're not interacting with today. This is in industry, industrial processes, it's in the economic side. Outside of the realm of the traditional civil engineering program, but it's very important to their success in the future as we integrate these many different disciplines together in this transportation field. The other thing I'd say is that in the core areas of transportation planning, transportation engineering, urban design, city and regional planning, I'd ask the universities, and to the extent the workforce network can help with this, to think about expanding those individual classes so that they're no longer stovepipes that talk about just geometric design or just operations or just planning or just city and regional urban design. I've been in this business for 40 years and our firm's been around for 30 years, and I've not come across a single project that's only in one of those areas. They all integrate. Our firm does not have departments. We don't have a planning and an operations and a design because we want our staff to be integrated and engaged in all of those. They're better at whatever area they might want to focus on is fine, but they need to understand the broad range and how these things integrate. I think the universities can help us with that by integrating these things into those classes as well.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
What I would like to see the workforce development programs do is create awareness for the importance of supply chain, create awareness for the importance of this industry. I don't think we pat ourselves enough on the back and say, you know what, how does that carton of milk get to the grocery store? I don't think we do that enough. And I think I would like to see the departments help us create an awareness of the importance. And secondly, also all the jobs that are available and the skills that are needed for the jobs. And the other thing is I'd like to see trends tracked in a more centralized way. It just seems like here you've got someone checking this and someone looking at this and someone, monitoring this, and it would be nice to have some national tracking of trends, maybe like for Marsha and me, like percentage of women in management, percentage of, we're already doing that, but I mean just more on a national level to make people aware and hold the industry accountable and say, look, you're tracking down on females in management, why? And let's address that issue. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that my wish list.
And I will add to that, one of the things that Ellen was saying is that trucking has an image problem. I would say to the centers that transportation has an image problem, that it is seen as a man's world. If women are entering into transportation, they're either going to be flag people or they're going to be bus drivers.
School bus drivers.
School bus drivers. I would like to see the centers actually get some clear data around what that image actually is. I speak of it today based on being in the industry and talking with women. Not everyone will take that as gospel because Marsha said so. I would like to see the data behind where these young people are coming from as they think about transportation careers. Because until we understand exactly what that image is, we cannot defend it.
One benefit these centers have right out of the gate is, the affiliation and being supported by an owner, a large federal owner, federal highway, as long as, Federal Highway Administration, DOT, the centers are willing to bring private industry, associations, individual companies into it, which I think they are, I think we can create a solution here. Because whenever an owner is talking or looking at an issue, it's usually not hard to get their constituency to the table, as opposed to, associations, different groups can do a lot of things, but one group can just move the needle just so far. So I think it has that benefit. One huge thing, and it's hard to articulate, it's just the decline in training opportunities. It's probably across all sectors, but in construction, particularly when there's a downturn, when there's a budget crunch, it seems like training and education is the first thing on the chopping block. And we see that with career and technical education programs. That funding has dropped about 23%, federal funding, in the past couple years. And I had a meeting a couple months ago with some high school career technical educators. We used to call them SHOP, when we were all in high school probably. And it was amazing. They were so passionate. They were so proud of their students and what they were doing. But the challenges they had to piece together funding, they'd get a little Perkins funding would come down and maybe the state would throw some in. And, they'd hit up private industry for donations, all good. But I mean, these are dedicated individuals, but they were stressed out, and they were starting to question how long they could maintain being these educators, again, to teach future carpenters, future pipe fitters. One of them was joking, he had a drill press, from World War II, and I kind of laughed thinking he was kidding. He was not. This was a World War II era drill press that he's teaching students in 2014, how to do these occupations. So just trying to articulate to those who hold the purse strings, whether it's on the local, state, federal level, the importance of not fully funding, but adequately funding, along with contributions from industry, these key technical education programs on the high school and even, certainly post-high school levels.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that as well. I live in the Chicagoland area, and I have a couple of sons that went to a very significant high school, 4,000 kids in this high school, very good high school in Lincolnshire, Illinois. And as they were going through their business class, their business teacher would send a home note to the parents saying, hey, your kid's going to hear from, these Chicago-based companies, Kraft or Sears or Motorola. You're going to hear from the IT person, they're going to hear from the sales person, they're going to hear from the finance person, they're going to hear from a marketing person. And what do you think was missing? Logistics, right? Supply chain management. So, of course, I boxed up everything I had and sent it into the teacher. So I'm coming in and telling you about supply chain management. But the problem is, even in high schools, they're not exposed to it as a career, let alone transportation. And supply chain management exploding. Logistics is part of the supply chain. Transportation is an important area of logistics, and they never get exposed to it. That they usually stumble into it in college somewhere. They'll go to Penn State, take a transportation course, and fall in love with it, or one of the other major universities that offer it. So we've got an obligation to drive this opportunity into lower levels of education, which I also think is a role the workforce centers can play. They're obviously geographically dispersed, and how do we get to community colleges who have connections with high schools and grade schools to get these careers, just these simple nomenclature like transportation, like distribution, into lower levels of education so they don't hear about it when it may be too late for them to make a career out of it. And it doesn't have a stigma, and it's got a real career destination. I mean, out of universities now, there are supply chain graduates who are making more initial salaries than engineers or finance people, because we don't have the capacity coming out of the schools to fill the managerial jobs, let alone the workforce jobs in other areas. So it's going to explode, and we've got to do I agree, it needs a marketing campaign to really understand in this country what it means to be a transportation professional.
Okay, great. There's some good ideas.